On the Monday after Thanksgiving, Ohio State University student Abdul Artan drove his car into a campus courtyard, targeting and striking pedestrians before crashing that car into a brick wall, getting out of the car, and chasing and slashing bystanders with a butcher knife.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
Yeah, I'm on the Ohio State campus. There's been I think it's some type of terrorist act. The guy ran a car through a crowd of students. He did it purposely.
The attack lasted roughly 2 minutes before Artan charged a campus police officer who shot him dead. And thankfully, Artan was the only fatality at the end of this incident. There's not a lot of mystery in this case. Some of the finer details are still under investigation, but just before attacking, Artan posted to his Facebook page that he was willing to kill 1 billion infidels in retribution for a single disabled Muslim. Now, of course, some of the typical spin you'd expect did emerge, but it was mostly minimal. It was all that poor treatment of Muslims that drove him to do it. Don't succumb to Islamophobia because of this attack. That would be the real tragedy. Ohio's state treasurer and a 2018 Senate candidate condemned radical Islamic terror, which the chief of staff of the Ohio Senate Democrats criticized as Islamophobic, warning us to watch out for the real danger, prejudice. But at least this spin is about not making conclusions about groups based on the individual. After this attack, I wondered who, if anyone, would be boldly regressive enough to victimize this individual. To say the guy on a rampage trying to kill people indiscriminately is actually someone worthy of sympathy. To say the guy targeting random people for murder was actually unfairly targeted himself. Documentarian Tariq Nasheed came close, ambiguously characterizing this incident as another case of a white cop shooting a black man, calling it interesting, but he stopped short of making that argument when challenged.
I didn't think that the guy was wrong for what he did. The guy was a hero.
Finally, though, some very brave students at Ohio State University, the very site of the attack, have emerged to make the case. Abdul Razak Ali Artan's name added to student group's list of people of color killed by police. This according to The Lantern, the student newspaper at Ohio State University. And technically that headline is accurate. But it's accurate in the same way Jeffrey Dahmer can be remembered as a man who opened his doors to the LGBT community and pushed culinary boundaries. A few key details are omitted, but in the interest of details, let's hear them out. Let's hear some of the reasoning. We broaden the scope of what today was supposed to be, to talk about the aftermath of what happened on the 28th, to talk about what it meant for that attack to happen, and also for Ohio State to be a focal point for a lot of right-wing pundits. Islamophobia and xenophobia, said Mariam Abidi, a fourth year in women's, gender, and sexuality studies. A focal point for right-wing punditry. How awful. How intrusive. How disruptive to a campus learning environment. The only thing I can think of, the only thing more intrusive, the only thing more disruptive is being the focal point for attempted mass murder. Yeah, but that doesn't matter because the protest against police brutality extends to the innocent and the guilty alike. Because we know that no matter the crime, justice and due process don't come from a cop's bullet, Abidi said while reading the eulogy. Disagree. There exists an emergency circumstance so urgent that the need for public safety outweighs the need for jury deliberation. And if ever there was such a case, a guy running people over before going on a stabbing rampage certainly qualifies. Would it have been better if the police officer had just asked nicely while Artan continued to attack? Like a lenient parent dealing with a misbehaving child. Artan. Oh geez, Artan, that's a lot of blood. Remember what we talked about, Artan? Don't be naughty. Besides, police shooting doesn't mean no due process or no justice. It just means amid the urgency of public slaughter, expediency is of very high value. Every discharge of a police firearm gets an investigation regarding its justifiability. And if use of the weapon was unwarranted, there is, yes, due process to bring that police officer to justice. Here's an analysis noting 17 officers charged in 2015 with potentially excessive uses of force, all of whom faced trial for their actions. These students don't say it explicitly, but the conclusion to their reasoning is a police shooting is never justified. And since that's the standard, it might make you wonder, who else made their list of people of color killed by police to be eulogized? This guy confronted police with a machete and was shot after a taser was insufficient to subdue him. This guy shot and killed the cop who showed up to serve his warrant for, yes, attempted murder of a police officer. This guy drove his car up beside a random police cruiser and shot an officer in the face. This guy just got done shooting his pregnant girlfriend in the stomach before police shot him, and he is only to be outdone by this guy who also shot his pregnant girlfriend in a car before pushing her out into the street and then running over a high school kid EMT student who tried to help her. How many cases of running innocent people over do you need to see before you start to think, okay, maybe deadly force can be justified? How do you apply due process to a multi-ton projectile maiming innocent people? Even the French didn't wave the white flag in that context. They shot the Nice truck driver dead on scene, and as far as I can tell, nobody protested that. In fact, the French police themselves protested against the trivialization of violence against police. What's frustrating about this display is it's entirely self-defeating. I will listen to an argument about police use of force, when it's justified, when it's not, potential reforms we could implement to minimize deaths and injuries and maximize public safety. But when you conflate that discussion with defenses for this list of scumbags, when you are mourning the treatment of these people who aren't worthy of a basement-level apartment in the depths of hell, it doesn't make me want more gentle policing. It makes me want policing more like this. This is what happens when you let good intentions twist beyond any moral perspective. When you believe in compassion and understanding and tolerance to the absolute extent, you will start decrying the treatment of people with no compassion and no understanding and no tolerance for the rest of society, and will try to kill us for it. So go ahead and make the argument that police treated the Ohio State terrorist and the rest of this list of irreparable degeneracy without due care. I will offer a counter-argument that a bullet is actually the most humane thing they deserve. Compassion is not always good. A bullet is not always bad. Think beyond absolutes, and for the love of God, kids, stay in school and learn to appreciate nuance. If your gender isn't binary, why should your logic be? Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at MattC on YT. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Okay.